You're now listening to episode 122 from the Shed End. As always, myself, Theo, and the other Theo. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Every time we record, it's always on a Friday, but today's a Monday, so we've got the rest of a busy work week to not look forward to, but to get through. Let's put it like that. But at least we've got some Monday night football to help us along the way. Weather in London started off really nice today, and now it's a bit grey and very windy and rainy. I was literally telling you just before I had to go into the garden to pick out some plant pots that had tipped over because of the wind. So probably if it continues, I'll have to go back out afterwards. But yeah, I say I'm looking forward to the game tonight, being back at the Bridge. First one back since the United game. And I think we've only lost one game at Stamford Bridge all year since the calendar year so far. So slightly good record, but that takes into account a lot of dull draws. But yeah, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
No, I'm good. Very similar to yourself, feels odd recording on a Monday. For anyone who's an avid listener of the podcast, you'll know that we usually try and drop our podcast on a Friday, so this won't be out today for Monday. But no, I'm good. Apart from that, like you, looking forward to the game. The wind might actually work in our favour, could blow the ball into the net for us, get us a goal. We might need a 12th man, which will be the wind. But no, I'm looking forward to the game, which we'll get onto later. Before we do that, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you go to our social accounts as well. And as Theo pointed out over the weekend, our Instagram account has hit, I think it's over 10,000 now. More than likely just over 10,000 followers. So massive achievement. I know, Theo, you do a lot of work on there more than I do. So massive achievement, and we appreciate everyone that's following the account as well and interacting with it. It isn't going unnoticed, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody who comments, who likes, who reshares, who sends a DM, really appreciate all the continuous support. Not just podcast content on there, a lot of match day content, Chelsea news. If you're not following, give it a follow. And I think it's quite funny as well how I think we managed to hit that 10,000 mark almost on the exact day that we created the page 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So anyone who's looking to create a page, making it grow, just keep going with all the organic content, and with time and patience, the kind of follow account will come, especially if you stay consistent. But yeah, really looking forward to continuing to grow it, and here's to 10,000 more.
Yep. Let's the road to 20k has started. We still need the YouTube subscribers going up. I'm looking. I think we're on 422, but we will be more consistent on there as well. Obviously, I've had to sort of drop out with the half terms, but we're back now. It's the main thing. But I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to bring the tone of the podcast down a little bit. With the news that I just read before we came on to record was around what Nizar Kinsella has been reporting this morning around the extension of a further year for Enzo Fernandez and Mykhailo Mudryk's contracts. FA documentation has now revealed that Enzo Fernandez has 8 years left on his £180,000 a week contract. Mudryk now has 7 years on a £97,000 a week contract, which will see Enzo at the club until 2032 and Mudryk 2031. Can't get my head around this, Theo, why we would do this at this point in both their careers, really. Neither of them have lit Stamford Bridge up. None of them really seem to be warranting the further extension, especially when you've got so many years left on it. But what's your initial thoughts on that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed these two players at the time, clearly they were in demand. Enzo was heavily linked with Liverpool, Mudryk with Arsenal. So we must have done a lot to get hold of them. We offered them these big deals, which is what we've seen under Todd Bowley and the Blue Co-ownership, which seems the reasoning behind it is you want to amortize the fees across the years. So then it's kind of spread across the books. And I think in that reasoning, we meet financial fair play. So my only reasoning behind it would be to continue doing that and maybe give them that additional year to kind of keep helping us to try to amortize those fees, spread it across multiple years, and maybe that extra year that we seem to activate in both their contracts will help us do that. So there's been a lot of other kind of talk of other things we've been doing behind the scenes to try to raise some money, sell hotels, sell homegrown players to be able to meet that profit and sustainability rule that a lot of other clubs have been charged with or faced points deductions for, which would be a real nightmare given how poorly we perform if we were to get some kind of deduction or some kind of ban. So I think we're doing everything possibly to avoid that. And my only reasoning, like I said, for these contract extensions would be something to do with that. But other than that, their performances on the pitch clearly haven't validated the fact they get an extension. So yeah, very, very bizarre move. And it definitely came out of the blue with no kind of pre-rumors circulating that they would be awarded with an extra year. So that's my reasoning, I suppose.
You use the word rewarded. I'd use that term very, very loosely.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think the financial element is the ultimate driver for the extension. I was just looking now as well, because it worries me. This could be a trend or a pattern with, Malo Gusto, who's also on an 8-year deal, Nani Madueke as well, Leslie Ogunchukwu, Nicholas Jackson, Badia Shil. They're all on 8-year deals, and you Moises Caicedo as well, Wesley Fofana, David Datro Fofana. They're all on 7-year deals. So it makes me wonder, have they all got this additional, extra year clause in their contract for that reason, financial purposes, to do the same? And it's just not. I mean, for me, it's not a way to run the club. It can't be sustainable. You can't sustain doing this in a club, and finding the loopholes in terms of selling the hotel that's linked to Stamford Bridge to your own company just to look at to almost show profit on the books. It just blows my mind a little bit. How long can this go on for? How long can we continue to find loopholes FC? How long can we keep doing this? And at some point, this is we're going to have to answer to someone about how we're trying to fudge the books, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been doing it for the last couple of years. I think, like you mentioned, selling the hotel to your own company, Blue Coast, it seems very shady. And I think we're going to just still find legal ways. I say legal very loosely, to be able to raise money. Then it's going to keep going like that. But I think it won't be until too long. Somehow we just take a wrong turn and we do something wrongly, and somehow we backfires, we get points deduction, a ban. But it seems like, given that the performances there are on the pitch, we're not raising money by being in the European competitions. I think that's the only way right now that we're gonna succeed or raise money. And a lot of the players that we've bought for big fees haven't performed either. So yeah, I don't know. It's a question I don't really know how to answer. I'm sure they're somewhere in the room in Cobham or Parsons Green or Fulham Broadway, where the Chelsea offices are, with a lot of coffee, trying to brainstorm ideas on how they can raise money. But yeah, I think hopefully that's a problem they can solve, because I've got no idea right now. I think I texted you the other day when I'm seeing all these tweets with all these numbers and pie charts and financial graphs. It puzzles my head, really. But I'm really hoping whatever we do is done in a legal way, because we've seen it backfire with Forest and Everton. And the Premier League won't. I mean, there's some people that say that the bigger clubs are better protected than the smaller ones. We've seen City; they're kind of facing a lot of charges, and they're still under investigation. And it's been a good three years now that they've been under investigation. Chelsea, it's only a matter of time before we're going to be under investigation as well, if we're not already under investigation. So it seems like we're just buying time now, and we're on borrowed time, if anything, before something similar to Forest or Everton happens to us.
I think it's definitely on the cards, isn't it? I think you look at how we've been able to dodge and manoeuvre financially has benefited the club to some aspects at the moment, but that can only go on for so long. I mean, we was only reading the other day about the agent fees in the last 2 seasons. We spent 75 million just on agent fees. I mean, that's just astronomical. That's almost unheard of. I think that's the most a Premier League club has spent in that span of time, to do that. I think City below was 60 million. But you can see it with City. They're bringing in the right players. They're getting results. They're winning Premier Leagues. They're doing what they need to do. They've won the Champions League. They're still in the contention for the Champions League this season as well. So you can kind of see why you would need to spend 60 million on, and at least there's results on the pitch that backs that up why you've spent it. But to spend how much we spent on players, sacking managers, and being in the situation that we're in, I just look at it now and I just think it can't be sustainable. You can't carry on spending money and then finding ways to make the books look pretty for so long. Like you said, once you get into those realms of entering the Champions League, and this is probably why City are kind of okay for now, because I think some of their charges are more under the UEFA ruling as opposed to the Premier League. So I think, without going into it and getting all technical, I think that's why they're able to sort of still manoeuvre as they are, in terms of not getting the same sanctions as Nottingham Forest and Everton. But it will creep up with them eventually. You have to. And just like Chelsea, the same will happen, especially if we get back into the Champions League, or, you know, we're not able to sell a hotel to ourselves to make us look like we've made some profit. You know, you can only do those things once or twice, and when you run out of those options, what do you do? So I think in the long run, this is going to damage the club a lot more. I think extending players' contracts beyond the necessity of doing that is going to devalue the player in the long run. You know, I just read them before. Enzo, if he sees out the full duration of his contract, will be 31 when he leaves Chelsea, or when he can leave Chelsea. I mean, it's like a life sentence. It's like a prison sentence, really. It's mental. It must be mental for the players as well. I mean, where do they go? You know, where do they go from here? How do we sell someone like Enzo Fernandez if we need to, or Leslie Nkunchukwu, or, you know, Nicholas Jackson if we need to move him on? How do we do that if they're on an 8-year deal?
There's no answer. No, it feels like these contract extensions. It's like last chance saloon. We're just trying to do things to try to buy some more time, but it's like, I think you use the word perfect. It's not sustainable. It really isn't sustainable, and we're just going to smudge the books, make them look pretty. But realistically, I just don't see a world where this isn't going to backfire on us further down the line, or a world where we're going to run out of ideas and we're going to face some kind of punishment. I think the only thing that's giving me a bit of hope is that, like I said before, the bigger team seems so well protected. Their kind of legacy, their fan base, even the revenue they bring into the Premier League. So I don't think the Premier League could afford to maybe see a Chelsea drop into the Championship, see a Chelsea face a really heavy points deduction. But yeah, it's just so unpredictable, and just seems like Chelsea, the way we're trying to, every day there's a new kind of hotel being sold, a new patch of land being sold or bought, a new player that's being linked with a move away, an academy graduate we're looking to sell. It just feels like we're just. I think we use this word a lot. We're more of a business now than an actual football club, if anything.
Yeah. So it's a fair shout. It's definitely a fair shout. Let's move over, because obviously since our last recording as well, Blue Cove completed the acquisition of Sir Owsald Stoll mansion site, which is very close to Stamford Bridge. Anyone that's been to Stamford Bridge, or I know Phil, you live around the area, so you'll know probably better than anyone. But I don't, again, another thing from the hierarchy that I don't really get, because yes, you've occupied some land. I think it's 1.9 acres or something like that in terms of the land size. It's quite a sizable amount, but where it is, it just doesn't make any sense, because you've still got a massive chunk on Fulham Road that you don't own. So unless you're going to acquire that part, which I don't know who owns it, I haven't looked into it, but if anyone who's, just Google it, you'll see there's a map where there's a bit on the Fulham Road that we just don't own. So we now own a bit over here, and then we obviously own Stamford Bridge. But does that make any sense to you? Why would you buy land? Is it possible for a stadium extension? Is it maybe to, like we said before we started recording, you know, is it to add another hotel? Is it to enhance the Chelsea Village maybe?
Yeah, I'll have to ask my dad. He's an architect, so I need to see maybe if there's a way, if he can, like, this, it makes sense geometrically.
Can you spin the stadium round slightly?
Can you spin the stadium? Exactly. I saw a lot of Twitter users mentioning that.
Even Siri thinks that as well.
I saw a lot of Twitter users mentioning that it would only make sense if you spin the stadium or you shift it to the side. But right before this recording, we were brainstorming ideas of possibly what could be built there. Should it be like an extension of Chelsea or the megastore or a commercial centre or anything like that? But I wouldn't be surprised if the owners build another megastore, build some kind of business or leisure centre. They build maybe a food court, which is what there is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yes,
a big food court going around the stadium. And I know right now, apart from Fulham Broadway, there's just a couple of food trucks outside Stamford Bridge. But I wouldn't be surprised if they build some kind of modern food court, if they build another megastore, if they build some kind of spa gym, if they build another hotel, even just anything that can bring in some extra money, more people to the grounds. Because I won't lie, if you're just someone visiting Stamford Bridge, apart from the megastore and maybe a stadium tour and a small museum at the back, there isn't much to do around there.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the owners are trying to bring more people, attract more people to come to that area of Fulham Broadway, that area of Chelsea, and just spend money. So yeah, I can't see it being an extension of the stadium, at least not now in its current format. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of commercial hub that will generate or bring in more revenue for the owners.
It seems that way, doesn't it? I had visions of like a Chelsea equivalent to like a box park, and you can go there almost like a pre-match and a post-match. You go there for your drinks and, like you said, your food, have food markets and stuff in there, and maybe even like a mega store in there as well. I just have visions of something like that, because I think at the moment it acquires there's like 128 sort of flats, housings in there, so it's quite a massive area. It's not like it's a small piece of land. It's quite big. So I just think maybe a box park style pre-match where everyone goes and congregates and stuff, and like you said, there's literally just a couple of burger vans and that's it. A couple of pubs, obviously, that you use your pubs that you've got down there, but it just seems a bit odd for me. It's another red flag, I'll be honest. It's another the red flag this morning. The worst one was the contract extensions that I read. I nearly fell off my seat when I read that. But this one was a bit of a red flag as well, because I think it clearly is a money making thing, isn't it? It's not to expand the stadium. So what is it? I think that's where the ownership should be a bit more clearer. Maybe put something out to stop the likes of me and you talking about it. Just put out something to say, this is what our plans are. We've now acquired this land. This is what we expect to do with it. Here are our proposals, what we want to try and do. And it might just silence some of that noise. There's a lot going on at Chelsea already, but that might silence some of it at least. Yeah.
It's funny how you use the words wet red flag, because there's another little red flag in one of the windows of that building, actually. That some eagle-eyed Stamford Bridge regulars would have spotted. There's someone who's displayed an Arsenal banner or flag in one of the windows of that building overlooking their kind of main entrance towards Stamford Bridge. So yeah, at least we won't be greeted by that Arsenal flag anymore.
Will we?
You never know. Yeah.
You never know. They might sell it to Arsenal. We might end up with. I wouldn't be surprised. Blue Co. sell it to Arsenal, and it's owned by Arsenal or something, and it's a joint collaborative box park. But I don't know. I just wouldn't put anything past this. But no, you're right. It's good to. It's surprising that someone is so blasé in terms of, maybe that's not the right word, but they're happy to have an Arsenal flag hanging out their window outside Stamford Bridge and still have their windows intact.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just, if there was a supermarket closer and people could get some eggs,
yeah.
they definitely rush to the nearest Sainsbury's or Tesco.
I think there's one. There's one not far. There's not one too far.
There's a Sainsbury's in Fulham Broadway actually. But it's actually just crossed my mind. I'm not sure if you've seen what Fulham are doing with their Riverside stand. They're building almost like a Michelin-styled restaurant, swimming pool.
Yeah, I read this. I did read it.
They're building this really fancy complex and almost kind of boxes on the VIP boxes in the stand. So I wouldn't be surprised if, like you said, it's some kind of box park style thing or some kind of VIP corporate kind of hospitality building where all the big VIP guests go to and have their champagne and get to chill on a terrace rooftop with in some kind of Soho House style jacuzzi.
It's a shout.
But yeah, I think it's there's a lot of ideas to brainstorm, but I think you said it as well. I'd just like a bit more transparency and communication from the owners with the projects and the plans they've got, because right now we're not kept in the loop. We just get a tweet announcing that they've purchased this block of flats, but we've got no idea if it's to extend Stamford Bridge or what the purpose or the objective is. So I think a lot more transparency and communication from the fan base would be appreciated.
Oh yeah, it's needed. It's definitely needed. Let's move on. I'm going to say it. I haven't said it for a couple of weeks, so I think I'm entitled to say it, but we have got a big match coming up tonight, as you alluded to at the start of the podcast. Everton are in town. They will play us 8 o'clock tonight, Stamford Bridge. Big game for both clubs, really, when you think about Everton and the points deduction that they've had, or the two sets of points deductions they've had, and obviously for us, there is that still, and Pochettino is still being asked this in the press conferences about, European football, potential Conference League football this season. We theoretically have 2 games in hand against some of the other clubs in and amongst us. And some, let's be honest, some clubs done us favours, some didn't over the weekend. But just before we get into the preview, I wanted to read what Ben Jacobs has said on Twitter this afternoon. It says, Chelsea's injury list is currently, and in brackets, and sadly, a pretty competitive 3-5-2. We have Sanchez, Dazazi, Fofana, Colwell and James, Enzo, Lavia, Ogunchukwu, Chilwell, Sterling and Nkunku all out injured for tonight's match, which I think I might have even said to you on Friday, or one of the days that we actually have a solid 11 out injured.
Probably a better 11 than our starting one that we're going to play tonight.
Pretty much. I mean, the formation would work. I'm looking at it now. You could have Chilwell bombing down one side, James down the other. Your centre-backs of Dazazi, Fofana and Colwell. Your midfield of Enzo, Lavia, Ogunchukwu, and then obviously Sterling and Nkunku in there with Palmer on the bench, someone to come on and change the game if we need to. So, signs of concern, I think, still there in terms of the injuries. I mean, they're topping up now. Probably the wrong time of the season, but they seem to be piling up as I think Sterling, I was reading last night, has been vomiting since Friday. So not theoretically an injury. I just don't think he's well enough to he hasn't trained apparently since Sheffield United. So I doubt he'll be in the team for tonight. But very concerning in terms of some of those bigger injuries that we're seeing. Lavia's and Nkunku's, Reece James, all out.
Yeah, it's a huge concern. It's been a huge concern for the last couple of seasons. These injury lists that keep mounting, and more players every week, almost to the surprise of the fans, just get added to that list when they were playing or training pain-free a couple of days ago. It's frustrating because I feel like we could be a lot more competitive in the league, where we would currently sit in the league if we had at least even half the injuries we've been faced with this season. You look at a team like Arsenal, who I can't really remember them having a single injury this season, or a very notable injury of a player that's been kept out for so long. Whereas then you look at teams like Chelsea, even United to a certain extent, who have had their fair share of injuries. But I've never known a season where we've dealt with so many injuries. Again, you can point the finger to the fitness team or the whether players are rushed back too soon if they're not assessed properly ahead of match day. But I think right now, I think I mentioned it in a previous recording, European competition has been thrown out the window. And now it's just a question of wrapping up this season with what we've got left. You've got still some really good players, the likes of Malo Gusto and Palmer, who I think can make the difference on the day, like we saw against United with Cole Palmer. I think we got 3 points thanks to him. But yeah, it is frustrating. And I think Everton, I wouldn't be surprised if they snatch a result tonight. We'll get into our predictions soon, but yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's a good assessment of where we are in terms of injuries. I think something we need to try and address. This isn't. I think I've been saying it, and you've been saying it. This isn't a new thing. This is an ongoing thing. You think back to pre-season last summer in America. You think back to that season before. Even during the COVID seasons as well, we were struggling for numbers on the bench at one point due to COVID, but also down to injuries as well. So it's definitely something I think we need to seriously address with the medical staff in the summer, and just hope that we can get some sort of resolution to that and keep players fit next season. But I just want to read off some stats for tonight's game. So it's to say Everton's sole Premier League victory at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea came in November 1994. Which is good going. Cole Palmer could become the first Chelsea player to net in 7 successive Premier League home games should he score against Everton. So that's a really good record. Obviously, Cole Palmer, people say that he's sort of stat padding, but arguably our best player so far this season. Head and shoulders above some of the players, in the league, not just in Chelsea as well. Chelsea are unbeaten in their last 28 league games with Everton, winning 15 and drawing 13. This one is probably the red flag of the stats. Chelsea have conceded 52 Premier League goals this season, 5 more than the entirety of the 23-24 season. So I'll follow that one up with Chelsea are also without a clean sheet in 13 consecutive games in all competitions, shipping 27 goals during that run. Some good, some bad. But let's go into the preview. What's your thoughts?
I think it's going to be a tough game, a really tough game. Like that last statistic you mentioned, the amount of goals that we concede is shocking. I've never seen such a defensively fragile Chelsea team.
Yeah.
We go 1-0 up, and then within 5 minutes we concede again sloppy goals as well. The ones against Burnley, the ones against Sheffield. It's almost like we go into panic mode when as soon as we score and we don't know how to hold the lead and we just crumble under pressure. And if I'm not mistaken, since the Brentford game, which was at the start of March, we've conceded 2 goals or more in every single one of our fixtures.
Possibly, yeah.
You look at the Leeds game, you look at the Newcastle game, the United game, the Burnley game, the Sheffield game. 2 goals or more. And I have some other statistics. You just read out a good list of them, but something that could work in our favour. The Blues are also unbeaten in 9 Monday night fixtures stretching back to 2020, winning 8 of them, including each of the last 6. I think there's a couple of Monday night footballs. I think it was Newcastle was the last one.
Yes.
And then we also beat
Palace.
Fulham back in. Palace was one as well. Fulham in October. And also we're unbeaten in our 7 league outings, our best run since December 2021. So while drawing 4 of the last 8. So we've gone on a bit of an unbeaten stretch recently, but like I said at the start of the recording, unbeaten doesn't necessarily mean 3 points and victories. There's been a lot of draws, and a lot of draws against the bottom half of the Premier League, the likes of Brentford, the likes of Burnley and Sheffield as well. So I'm not confident at all. I think it seems to be our favourite scoreline, the 2-2 this season. So I think it's going to be a 2-2, and it seems to be quite not surprising at all that Calvin Lewin's found a bit of form as well lately.
Yeah,
scoring 2 in his last 2 games. They got some other good players, the likes of Doucouré, Mikalenko, Brett Brathwaite as well. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I also wouldn't be surprised if some of these players, like we always say around this time of the year, March, April, their heads are already in Dubai, Mykonos, Ibiza, Mallorca. So
they've been there all season.
They have, to be fair. Yeah. So I'm not confident. I think Everton, we have a lot in our squad to be able to score goals, but we also have a lot in us to also concede some, and Everton have a lot in them to score. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 results.
Yeah, I agree to some extent with a lot of what you said. I think Everton will come to Stamford Bridge. It's probably the perfect time to play Chelsea. They found slightly some form, whether it be they're still there or thereabouts at the bottom, but they found some really good form. I think Dwight McNeil is going to be so crucial tonight. I think Doucouré, like you said, he's the key threat for me. Not Calvert-Lewin, but Doucouré. I think he does so much. He just sits off the number 9, and he does so much in that role. And if we're not defensively switched on, I think he will become a big problem for us in the game tonight. I think again, Garner and Gay in the middle as well. I think both of them, like you said, Jared Brathwaite and it'd be James Tarkowski, I think, in the middle in defence. Me personally, I look at maybe Mikalenko, and I think maybe Cole Palmer versus Mikalenko. That will be a good battle, and I think and hope that Cole Palmer will be able to get the better of Mikalenko down that right side if he starts. But we need the 3 points. I know European football is something that a lot of Chelsea fans desire, but I think we just need to try and end the season, what's left of it, on a high. Forget about entering a European competition. Obviously we're still in the FA Cup, big game coming up next weekend, but I think just let's end the season on a high. Let's just try and get as many points as possible. Starting with Everton, I think we should be able to beat them, and the records that we've got there shows and proves that.
Yeah, I just saw as well that Nicholas Jackson and Caicedo they're on 9 yellow cards for the season. Yeah. So that means they're 1 yellow card away from suspension.
Arsenal
and
next.
My question was, does that suspension also take into account the FA Cup semi-final?
I don't think so. I think it's separate. Okay. So I think it would be. I'm thinking Arsenal and.
Is it Tottenham?
Villa. We've got Villa next after that, and then we've got Tottenham, I think.
So I think the yellow cards reset after Arsenal. I think I read.
Okay. So yeah. So maybe it does take into account the City game. I'm not 100% sure because they change the rules every season. They like to change all these rules, don't they? But who would you? Speaking of that, actually, now we're talking about bookings. Who what would be your 11 for tonight? Who would you start? Who would you go with?
Who can we pick from? That's the question.
It almost picks itself, doesn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Petrovic, Gusto, Chaloba, Silva. Was Chilwell on that injury list, or?
Yeah. Yep.
He's on the injury list,
Yeah.
or is he?
I think he is.
So
yeah.
I think it would have to be Cucurella then. Then it's whether you risk Caicedo on 9 yellow cards, with the possibility he could pick up one and be suspended for Arsenal. But I think given the lack of options, you have to, and the fact that Enzo is also Enzo's out injured, you play Caicedo with Gallagher, and then you play possibly Carney as the number 10, and then you go with Palmer, Madueke, and Jackson.
Yeah, I'd agree. So sorry, you had Mudryk.
Would you make room for Mudryk?
Yeah.
Mudryk was on the bench for me. It's whether you make room for a Cassidy and Mudryk. I think Sterling, like you mentioned, if he's been vomiting and had a stomach bug all week, you probably don't risk him.
I'd have Mudryk in there. I would, but I need to see the Mudryk that we want to see, not the Mudryk that doesn't turn up. So it's hard for him. I'm going to stick to what I said a couple of episodes ago. I think he still needs that consistency, that consistent run of games, and the only way he's going to get that is if he's continually playing in the game. And I think this sort of game, when you think he'll probably be up against maybe Ashley Young or Seamus Coleman, who'll be playing right back for Everton, possibly.
Dinosaurs, both of them.
Exactly. Well, this is the sort of game you'd expect a young, nippy, Mudryk to be able to expose the age gap between the two of them.
So I regret saying that. One of the two is going to score now, I'm sure.
Well, I reckon Decore. I do. I think Decore will get a goal tonight. I think he's like I said, I think he's one of those that just He almost reminds me a bit, not in terms of quality, but how Frank Lampard used to just drive into that box really late or be on the edge of the box, and he's just there. He's just there. So
he scored in the reverse fixture at Goodison Park.
He did,
and he scored in his fixture last season. 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
So he knows how to score against us.
Yeah.
And he also gave away a penalty, I believe, against in the away fixture last season. But a very good player, like you said. He's a goal scoring midfielder.
He's a good player, a very good player.
Yeah.
He's more of a threat to me than Calvert-Lewin. I mean Calvert-Lewin probably he'll be. You expect him to get chances, but I think with Decore, we have to be switched on to him and don't give him any room on the ball, because if he does, he'll make something happen. But no, I think I'd agree with that. I think we obviously Dizazi's out, Fofana's out, Colwell is still out, I think, as well on that list, weren't they? So it would have to be Chalobah coming back in. I think Gusto, Cucurella. I think Carney Chukwuemeka should come into this team now. I think he has to. Also, it's a forced change for Pochettino in midfield. Stick with Caicedo. I think you have to. He has been relatively better in terms of his discipline, in terms of fouls. I think he picked one up against Burnley, I think. But he's been getting okay. And I think in the back of your mind, surely you think, right, I've got Arsenal coming up. I've got Arsenal. I want to play in that game. You've got to be careful.
It's a must win for us, but also it's a tight game. If we've got a 2-goal lead, maybe you substitute him off for a Cassidy.
You say 2-goal. Like no, we need a three goal lead. We need a 3-goal. It's no longer a 2-goal lead. It's a 3-goal lead. We got to see what happened against Sheffield United last weekend. We scored 2 goals, and the eventual thing will happen is that they will score 2 goals or 3 goals in some cases.
Yeah, like against United, from 2-0 up to 3-2 down.
Precisely, exactly.
Bit of fortune was in our favour there, and we managed to get the win. But I think if we're going to score 2, it's almost the Chelsea way of doing things this season. We'll concede 2 as well, so we've got to be ready for that.
Just wanted to speak on something as well. So obviously, I know we've criticised and also praised in some aspects Nicholas Jackson, but he hasn't scored a goal since the 11th of March in the league, Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking now's the perfect time for him to find that form. He went for a small purple patch after the African Cup of Nations where he was sort of picking up, and he's doing well. I'm not saying because he's not scoring, he's not doing well, but I think he's the striker that we've got on that pitch. He needs to grab a goal, I think, tonight, doesn't he? And just maybe, I think some fans might start questioning him again if he doesn't get a goal.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. I think he got quite fortunate, or he did well at the start of March, scoring I think in 3 games back to
Yeah,
back. It was I think it was Brentford, Leeds, and then Newcastle.
yeah.
But yeah, I think the last couple of games he's been relatively ineffective. I think he missed that big chance against Burnley as well. So you kind of hope he gets back on the score sheet, gains a bit of momentum and confidence ahead of our last couple of fixtures. And it'd be beautiful as well if somehow he managed to put a dent into Arsenal's title hopes further the misery after their defeat to Villa yesterday as well.
We're going to save that for next week because I think
Yeah.
well, obviously we've got the FA Cup, but then we'll be I'm looking forward to that game. I'll say no more. It was a lovely Super Sunday yesterday, wasn't it? For obvious reasons, but no, I think I agree. You know, I think Jackson has to. Don't forget, I mean, he had a really good assist. He played really well against Leicester in the FA Cup as well. I think he assisted. I'm trying to think what goal he assisted actually. Was it Mudryk? Palmer? One of them. I can't remember who it was. He definitely got an assist. But yeah, he's been playing really well. I just think he needs a couple of goals now just to add to his performances. Chelsea fans, as we know, this season have been frustrated, and I think it's only going to take a matter of time before they start picking out individuals again. So yeah, but you've gone for 2-2. I think I'm going to go. I am confident. I'm very confident today for some weird reason, and I'm not sure why. And the last time I was confident like this, we lost, I think, or we drew. We felt like a loss. It was a draw. It was against Burnley.
Yeah.
It was the Burnley game. So I'm gonna go. I think Everton will score, but I think we'll beat them 3-1.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I think we'll beat them. I really can visualize Decore celebrating in front of the fans now. So I think they'll score, but I think we'll have enough in our team to be able to cope with them. One final question, actually. Alfie Gilchrist has been given a space in the changing room. Someone that we haven't really spoken about for a while on here because he's been obviously not in. He's been out of the team more than he's been in it, but someone that we might see a bit more of now. I think obviously Pochettino's obviously seen something in training, or the coaches are. Seems to be someone that we might be looking forward to seeing a lot more of next season.
Yeah, space in the dressing room and a new contract as well. He's been awarded with. I think definitely with Reece James's uncertainty when it comes to his fitness and his injury record, we're going to need cover at right back. Gusto's filled in that void perfectly, and he's actually proven that he can be our starting right back. But we're still going to need a bit of depth, a bit of cover, and I think Gilchrist has been fantastic. He's still very young, and I think he could still benefit from a loan, maybe to another Premiership team or a Championship team. But every time he has come on for his cameo performances, I've really liked his hunger, his fight, his desire, his energy. And that's something we just haven't seen enough of from a lot of the other more senior Chelsea players. So yeah, it's a couple Chelsea players that could learn a thing or two from Gilchrist. But exciting player, bright future. And I think it's John Terry who said he's one of the best players he's watched in training from the academy in a very long time. So praise from one of the highest experienced Chelsea legends. But yeah, still very early days and still very raw, but really exciting talent.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing a lot more of him over the next couple of years, hopefully, unless we do a Lewis Hall and we sell him. But yeah, wouldn't put it past the owners. Another red flag to possibly look out for. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know your predictions for tonight's game. Are we going to go out victorious at the end? Will we hear the banging of Matthew Harding's stand when the third goal goes in? I hope so. But yeah, let us know your thoughts, score predictions, predicted lineups as well. Theo, as always, enjoy the game, first of all, tonight. And then, as I'm sure you just looked outside, weather permitted, I'm sure you'll still be going anyway, regardless. But yeah, enjoy the game, and we'll be back very soon. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure, again, as Theo said, the social accounts are there. The Linktree link is in the description. Make sure you hit that Linktree link and follow the socials as well. And as always, we appreciate everyone that's interacting and engaging with the channel, the socials. And until next time, we'll be back soon. So enjoy the rest of your week.